Good morning and welcome to Nonsense Talk News. I am Pallab Ghosh with you. Today is 27th June. On this day in 1997, we lost one of the most promising television journalists who actually brought a revolution in then Hindi television journalism, because in those days Hindi television was restricted to only Doordarshan. Satellite channels were a distant dream. In fact, satellite news channel was nowhere near any planning during this time. I am talking of late Surendra Pratap Singh, or SP Singh, popularly SP among the journalist fraternity. Many of you may remember the catchline of then AajTak news, quote unquote, ये थी खबरें आज तक, इंतजार कीजिए कल तक. Many of you may not be knowing this because a large number of people, I'm sure, haven't heard of SP Singh or SP because his television lifespan was very brief. But why I am doing this video is because I feel some people leave an indelible mark on your mind even if you don't know them personally, you haven't worked with them ever. But still, the persona or the aura of these people compel you to admire them, to appreciate them, and to love them. And such was the personality of SP Singh. Coming from the news fraternity, I appreciate him because, unlike many of senior journalists who proudly say they are immune, news, no matter how grave it is, how pathetic it is, how sad it is, it's a mere story for them. But SP Singh, who had spent n number of years in journalism, in fact, when he took over as executive editor of AajTak, launched by TV Today, the company owned by Living Media India Limited, precisely India Today Group, was working in Kolkata with Ravivar. Today is the death anniversary of SP Singh. We lost him on this day in 1997. But why remembering him? When I said that I don't know him personally, I haven't worked with him personally, though I always wanted to work with him personally. And I will be sharing that later in this video. But why Why then so much admiration for this man who, like many others, was known to me just as a television face? I too, like others, had seen him presenting news on AajTak. Many in the fraternity don't remember this day anymore. In fact, a large number of people who are working today, whom you see on Hindi television channels, were his handpicked journalists. But they don't have time today to sit back and remember SP. SP Singh was a man who, unlike many senior journalists, used to get involved in the plight, in the pain of people. Had he been immune, then he wouldn't have died, perhaps. Sounds strange, but true. SP Singh's last assignment, because he used to go on reporting also. He loved going on reporting. This was the structure of journalism in those days. An executive editor, head of the channel, apart from getting involved with editorial, which is definitely his part, but he goes out for reporting, even for small stories. So his last assignment was the Upar fire tragedy that took place at Upar cinema in Green Park, killing over 59 people, including children. Over 100 people were seriously injured in the stampede that followed. SP Singh did the reporting all through the day, came back and filed the story, presented the story on AajTak. It was a fateful Friday. And as I said, it was the day to say, "Ye thi khabrein aaj tak, intezaar kijeye somvar tak." But that Monday was never to happen, because after doing the story, going back home, he suffered a brain stroke. He fought for a few days and then he lost the battle. He died. Those who know him, they say, because he was so humane. He was so very close to people. He was so compassionate that he couldn't take the Upar fire tragedy and the dead bodies of so many people lying in front of him, including children. Many said perhaps he was issueless, so he couldn't take the death of those children. Whatever, this incident had hit him so hard that he suffered a brain stroke and subsequently died after a few days. On 27th June 1997, SP bid goodbye to everybody. I was a greenhorn then, and I was doing my internship from the Statesman in Connaught Place. And AajTak's office was also in Connaught Place, situated at Competent House. And both these offices were close to each other. Those who are familiar with Connaught Place will understand the service lane. There are a couple of service lanes that joins the main Connaught Place or the Connaught Circus or the outer circle. And that's the structure of Connaught Place. So I used to take the service lane in the hope that someday I would get an opportunity to meet SP. Because I had heard that SP used to go on reporting himself. And in those days, the structure of production house was very different from television. It was more like theater people, stage. Everybody used to do everything. And at the most, there were 2 to 3 people as a crew. A reporter, a cameraman, and of course, the driver. On one such day, I had the opportunity of meeting SP. He was busy, perhaps he had come from some assignment and he was to edit the story for his 10 o'clock slot. As I said, in those days, television production house was very different from today's television channels. Handful of people used to do everything. And people like SP love to get involved in everything. So, on one hand, when he was looking after the editorial, which was definitely his part of job, he used to help backstage. And he was totally a team person. That was the structure of journalism in those days, actually. Coming from newspaper, it was very natural on his part to be a team person. Because in newspaper those days, journalists used to believe in a team, not to get the work out of the staff, not to get the work out of his subordinate, but the structure was like that. Everybody was friend. Everybody believed that together they can do a story, no matter how difficult it is. Today the structure has become very different. Today there is a hierarchy. Today you cannot meet some of the executive editors because they are like VVIPs in their respective offices. You cannot meet the chief reporter because they prefer to stay behind the iron curtain. In those days, it was very different. So I walked up to SP and expressed my desire to work with him. I was scared because I was an intern in those days. But I can never forget the warmth SP showed. And he immediately asked, "Aap reporting kar lete hain? Would you be able to do reporting?" I said, "Of course, I love reporting." And then he said, "आप बंगाली हैं लेकिन आपकी हिंदी बहुत अच्छी है, माशाल्लाह. You are a Bengali, but your Hindi is very good." This was a big compliment because in those days, AajTak was the prime Hindi news channel that became a benchmark for Hindi journalism. And when SP Singh, who worked with Hindi dailies all through his life, was telling me that your Hindi is good, I have no problem in taking you. It was a very big compliment for me. And then he said, अगले हफ्ते आइए मिलते हैं. Come next week, we will sit down. Because right now I am busy, I have to edit the story. I said, I understand, sir. And I left. Little did I know that next week was never to come. Because that next week was the fateful Upar week. I never got the opportunity to work with SP. I envy those, many of them actually, who had met SP, like me, downstairs of Competent House, and SP was going on reporting and he had said, आइए चलिए गाड़ी में बैठते हैं, गाड़ी में जाते जाते बात कर लेंगे, ऑफिस में क्या मिलना. And lastly, after his death, I decided to make a scrapbook on SP, collect all the obituaries, features, write-ups, because when somebody dies, everybody cribs, everybody cries, as if he was the only person left in this world. Nobody exists. And everybody in my fraternity, after the demise of SP, was going haywire. They couldn't understand what had happened. They couldn't think that how could SP, a man like SP, quote unquote, a vibrant personality like SP, a man who brought revolution to the Hindi journalism, quote unquote, is no more. So all these features, all these obituaries, all these write-ups were published across various newspapers, magazines, and I decided to collect all these and create a scrapbook. Because as I said, SP had left an indelible mark on my mind, on my heart. Because unfortunately, I too feel, I too think, I too introspect from the bottom of the inner core of my heart. So I went around the offices of newspapers, publications, and collected. Many of them, of course, I purchased the day when they were published, but many I missed, which I came to know later, and I had to go hopping. And while going through those write-ups, I came to know a lot about SP that actually escalated, increased the love and admiration for that man more. One of them was, of course, his structure of journalism, where some of his staffs, while recalling SP, said, he always used to say, respect people's sentiment, respect people's emotions, talk about people. Very close to my heart. Journalists no more talk about people these days. Well, there are many actually, but I would like to mention two such reasons. One, some of his staffs who had worked with him while recalling SP in their obituaries had said that SP always used to say in the editorial meet that think from the people's perspective. Talk about people. Talk about their plight, about their pain, about their misery. Always respect their sentiments, their emotions. This is very close to my heart. I always tell this to my juniors or entrants into journalism that first be people's journalist. Try to understand people's problem. And second, because he had worked for so many years in Kolkata, he developed immense love for Bengal. And this naturally touched me deeply. जब एसपी सिंह साहब ने आज तक का कार्यभार संभाला था बतौर एग्जीक्यूटिव एडिटर, इतना आसान नहीं था, क्योंकि इंडिया टुडे को चाहिए था एक ऐसा न्यूज, एक ऐसी खबर हिंदी में जो आम लोगों के साथ जुड़े, जो आम लोगों की बात करे, आम लोगों के लहजे में बात करे, आम लोगों के लफ्जों में बात करे। क्योंकि उन दिनों सिर्फ और सिर्फ दूरदर्शन एक ऐसी चैनल हुआ करती थी जो हिंदी में बात करती थी। उस वक्त आज तक को उस रूप में ढालना और इस न्यूज स्ट्रक्चर के मुताबिक लोगों को लेना, लोगों को तैयार करना, एडिटोरियल बोर्ड तैयार करना, एडिटोरियल तैयार करना, रोज का ऐसे स्टोरीज करना कि आज तक लोगों को छू जाए, यह बहुत बड़ी बात थी। Once again, I express my tributes to late SP Singh on his death anniversary. This is Pallav Ghosh signing off for Nonsense Talk News.